Hey guys, thanks so much for joining me for another process video. So today I'm putting together the week of August 15th in my Project Life album. This is actually the second part of this week. We actually took a trip to Yosemite, and so I put together a layout specifically for that trip. But I also had a lot of photos of just everyday things, so I wanted to create a layout just to hold all of those photos as well. So here I am stamping this little Days of the Week strip. This is a stamp that comes in the Day in the Life kit by Ali Edwards. This is actually the third Day in the Life kit for 2016. And this little stamp strip just kind of fit perfectly in that white stripe there on the card. So it just added a little bit of an embellishment. And then I went in with this tag from Feed Your Craft Brandy Kincaid collaboration stamp set. And I just wanted to have some sort of a foundation for layering a label on top of. I knew my label was going to hold my date, and I just wanted to kind of add a little bit more interest to that card. So I'm cutting out this label from a Kelly Perky monthly kit. And I wanted this card to have some interest because it was a filler card, and it was just basically going to hold the date. So I didn't want it to be too busy, but I wanted it to have enough interest to kind of stand on its own. So I felt like that tag didn't have quite enough contrast against the blue label, so I just went back and I stamped it using some red ink and kind of played around with the placement until I got it to a place that I liked. And then I wanted to create my own journaling card for this bottom right hand pocket. So I used this stamp set from Feed Your Craft. The stamp set comes with a journaling card that's 3x4. This is awesome if you want to kind of play around with your background. So I've stamped this on top of like a very light grid, and here I'm stamping it on top of a Kelly Perky card that has sort of this blue ombre color. And then the stamp set also has a lot of travel icons and things that are related to books and like a top 10. So I wanted to do a little bit of journaling about what I was reading. So I used this rates stamp with the stars, and then I also used a little book icon right on top of that and stamped it using some gray ink. And then I'm just layering that with the photo right on top of some white cardstock that I cut down to 4x6. And that little Flair piece I was playing around with says, "Couldn't put it down." That's a Flair from Feed Your Craft. So this week, I actually kind of struggle with the spread a little bit just because this was kind of the second part of the week, so I didn't have any photos of people. I usually try to have at least one photo that's like either a selfie or a photo of friends, or just, I feel like people kind of add a focal point to the spread, so I felt like that was kind of lacking from this layout. But I like having this documentation, and overall I feel like it was a spread that was worthwhile putting together. So I wanted to add a little bit more color to this card, so I went in using this sentiment that says "So Awesome." This is from a Week in the Life kit from Ali Edwards from, I think it was from maybe 2 years ago. And then I'm going to add a couple more Flair pieces on top of two of those photos there. One says "No Coffee, No Talkie," and the other one says "Happy Place." And then for that food photo in the bottom left-hand pocket, I stamped Bon Appetit. This is from the Clearly Kelly Food Coma stamp set. And then I also pulled in this cute little fork and knife icon that came in that same Feed Your Craft stamp set I had used earlier. And I just stamped that at the end of Bon Appetit and cut it out. Sometimes I like to stamp directly onto the photo, but for this one I wasn't quite sure if my sentiment was going to fit in that white space created by the plates. And I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to stamp there either, so I decided to play around with it on the cardstock, just so I wouldn't have to, reprint my photo if I messed that up, stamping directly onto the photo itself. And then I'm adding in a couple of little staple embellishments here. I thought I might bring in a little bit more color by using a post-it note here, but I felt like that was a little bit too busy, so I kind of tried it as a banner, and it just didn't work, so I just left it how it was with just that Bon Appetit sentiment. And then I wanted to add a stamp embellishment to the bottom of that photo of my Get to Work book. Was planning out our trip to Yosemite, so I wanted to use this stamp that says Road Trip. This is from the Lost River Kit by Studio Calico. And then for the other photo of Nugget at my feet while I was working, I used this stamp from another kit from Studio Calico. I'm not sure what month this came in, but the stamp set is by One Little Bird, and it just says Fave on this little banner. And then I felt like that road trip didn't have quite enough contrast, and I liked how that darker pink sort of looked, so I went back and I stamped that in the dark pink ink, and it just added a little bit more contrast on that card, so I liked how that looked. And then I'm adding in my date using my Becky Higgins date roller stamp here. I'm just gonna adhere those down and add a couple of staples as an embellishment. And then I added in a couple more embellishments towards the end here. They're embellishments from my Mind's Eye. I think these might be discontinued only because I got them in the warehouse sale in September, but if I can find them, I'll definitely link them below. But I just wanted something that added a little bit more interest and some color, so I used some buttons and some little flags there, and it just kind of added a bit of a fun element to the page. And that is it. That is the weekly spread. I just added one more little piece of post-it note up at the top so I could tie in that turquoise from that card at the bottom. But that is it. That is the completed second part of this week, and I hope that you enjoyed this process video, and I hope to see you again in my next video.